Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodin. I am joined by Matt Turner, but today we are joined by perhaps the most special of special guests.
Oh, no.
Building you up now, Karen.
It's pressure.
It's Dream Slam Weekly's Karen Peterson. Karen, thank you so much for doing this. How are you?
Well, as I was telling you all off air, I'm still very much jet lagged. I basically spent last night binge watching Queen of the South, which is a TV drama series about a woman who becomes a queen of a drug cartel, like you do. But I only got maybe 3 hours of sleep this morning between the hours of 7 and about half an hour ago. So I'm a little wired. Mom just force fed me some food because I haven't eaten.
And nothing will wake you up better than talking to Stardom, especially with me and Rob.
I'm very excited to be. I may not look it, but I am very excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. We're excited. And we asked the tough questions here, Karen. So I'm going to come out one right out of the get-go. Now, Rob, when I met Karen a few weeks ago in New York City at Rumble on 44th Street, she was wearing this fantastic Stardom tracksuit jacket. You swear she just came running with Mayu and was about to hit the Stardom Dojo to do about 1,000 squats with Saida. So, Karen, I got to ask you, where did you get that jacket? Did you pick it up when you were in Japan?
So, my knees would not handle 100 squats, let alone 1,000 squats. No, I was able to order it via the Stardom online shop during the pandemic. That's the design from 2020 or 2021. It's last year's design. But yeah, it actually has a matching pair of track trousers that go with it. It's very comfortable. It's polyester, lightweight, great for the summer. Great for the summertime, meaning Florida, because it's hot here all the time. But yeah, I did not get that that is not a from Japan purchase. That is I love Tenso and buy and internationally imported it for a lot cheaper than Tokan Shop Global.
There you go, Matt. There you go. The inside scoop. Karen, it's as I've already said, we massively appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much. Obviously, you have just got back from Japan.
Yes.
First of all, when did you get back? Secondly, how was your trip? It looked from Twitter and social media like a riot.
So I used to live in Japan. So every time I go back there, I keep leaving more and more of my heart there. But then every time I come back from it, I always feel more complete because I get to get my fix without having to move back there, which is always great. Yeah. We are recording on Saturday the 26th, which is incidentally my sister's birthday. So happy birthday, sis. I got back very late Thursday evening on Thanksgiving. So my parents and I had Thanksgiving yesterday on Saturday. Yesterday on Friday. So I've been home for less than 48 hours at this point, but my body is still on Japan time, which is about 14 hours ahead of East Coast time. So it's probably 3 o'clock in the morning their time right now. So I haven't flipped my body clock back yet.
Jesus.
So technically, Rob, what she's saying is this is our first Japanese host. Our guest of the Stardom podcast.
I mean,
you did it, buddy.
I mean, I went to Japan for the first time 19 years ago. So best 5 years of my 20s. Yeah, I did have a residency card, so I guess you could technically call me a Japanese resident at some point.
There you go. It's good enough for us.
Yeah, we're easy going. We round up.
Hey, fake it till you make it, right?
Absolutely. I did just want to ask, am I right in thinking you went to Gold Rush?
I did. I went to Gold Rush, and then I took the night bus from Osaka to Tokyo, got to Tokyo at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh my God, you're so hardcore.
I showered in an internet cafe. Like you see all those YouTubers that go to internet cafes shower with the showers. I did that because
amazing.
I did that when I was working in Tokyo because I missed the last train one time. But yes, I showered in an internet cafe. I got dressed, did my makeup, went to the Sendai Girls show beforehand, grabbed lunch at a convenience store, then went to Historic Crossover, then took the train home.
And you managed to see the Noah show as well in the midst of all this.
Yes, I went to Sendai Girls and Historic Crossover. I did Gold Rush in Osaka. Then I did Super Junior and World Tag League. opening nights, Stardom's Goddess Tag League, and then Noah the same day, and then did a whole bunch of shrines on Thursday, and then flew home. So Thursday was a very long day for me.
That's intense. Yeah. Jesus.
What our listeners would probably want to know is how come you didn't go to any wrestling shows while you're there, Karen?
just a handful. In like let's see, what it was like 7 shows in 5 days. I would not recommend it.
Oh, I'm totally gonna do that.
My feet are still swollen from all the running around I did. So my body's just like, you're not 25 anymore. What are you doing? Stop.
I did just want, like, obviously we watched Gold Rush on pay-per-view. We saw like just how good like KAIRI and Saya was, and Utami versus Syuri again, because they can't put a foot wrong. How good was it watching that live? What was the vibe like? Did people know that, especially Utami and Syuri, which again has got pretty much universal acclaim, like, was the vibe like, good God, we've seen another outstanding match?
It was one of those things where for a lot of people last year, their 43-minute time limit draw was what really put Stardom on the map for a lot of people. And for me as a fan, coming back to seeing a Stardom show, a proper Stardom show live for the first time since January 2020 in a very drafty Shinkiba first ring, which is a very, very small venue compared to like the Osaka Edion main arena, it was unreal. And it's like, it's not that it's like, oh my God, we're getting this again. It's oh yes, the time has come. Our semi-annual Syuri versus Utami is on the menu. It was, Syuri and Utami can't do anything wrong. They can't. They've forged a rivalry of mutual respect, and it's just like, I just can't. It doesn't matter. I'll watch it all day, every day. I'll fold my laundry, do it. I don't care. Like, I just can't get enough of it.
I made mention onto the show that we just released a few days ago that their championship trilogy that they had with these 3 matches, you could put on par with the '89 Flair Steamboat. You can put it on with the Punk Joe Ring of Honor stuff. You could put it on par with the EO Mayu, their trilogy, and the Omega Okada. It's that good. And that's a hill I'm willing to die on, and we'll fight you. Don't
fight me for it. I'll be right there next to you.
Right there with me and you. I will be there too as well.
Fight me,
as long as his foot's okay. He'll be like, you got this, Matt. He'll be coaching me on. You got it.
I'll be there with my pom-pom being like, take that hit.
Where'd everybody go?
I mean, the thing I love about that, like, I think I've given all 3 5 stars. Not that my rating's been absolutely anything, but the fact that all 3 matches are so completely different and they're all still so good. And you look at these matches and you forget, like, Syuri's fantastic. Syuri is unbelievable, but you forget how young Utami is. And like, what was it? 2019, 2018, she debuted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And she's just blowing people away on a regular basis with 4 years in ring experience, which is just absolutely insane. And absolutely incredible matches. Before we kick into Historic Crossover then, which is our main event of today, I was going to say something. I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. So I'm going to cover and go, Matt, haven't said hello to you yet. Matt, how are you
doing? While Rob's thinking of that, Rob, I got to ask, how's your foot doing, buddy?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm getting a pain on the inside of it now, which I wasn't getting before, but I think that's probably because I'm walking weird. Karen, obviously, I hurt my foot not doing the Cosmic Angels dance.
I started that rumor that he started his foot doing the Cosmic Angels dance. And a whole bunch of people tweeted at him gifs of the Cosmic Angels.
I'm very disappointed that you didn't injure your foot doing the Cosmic Angels dance.
Should have went with the gimmick, brother.
I guess it's fine.
Yeah, just fell off a stair. Just
relatable, man. That's
always the most innocuous ones.
Just getting out of bed, so it's. I feel you. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, the top of it's sore, the inside's a bit painful, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'll live. I feel extremely pathetic having seen KAIRI's tweet about how she managed to wrestle both the Gold Rush and Historic Crossover show with a sprained ankle and posted a picture of it.
Like
and it's
like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like a coconut. And
Yeah.
I'm there on the bed going, Kirsty, my girlfriend, Kirsty, can you bring me a cup of tea? Come walk. It's not comparable at all, but there we are. I just wanted to I know what I was going to say now.
Awesome.
Remembered, see. Obviously, Stardom in Showcase Volume 3 was today. They drew 778 people, which is down from 906, which they drew for Kawasaki Super Wars, but with no title matches. It's not bad. Have either of you seen any spoilers from Stardom in Showcase Volume 3, seen what happened, what went down on the show?
I meant to watch it this morning, but since I was so engrossed in my
Queen of the
my
South.
Queen of the South marathon, I'll watch it, around breakfast time while I'm getting my day started. And then I conked out, and now the stream's gone because they have to edit all the music out of it. So
Yes.
I've only seen a futsal spoiler and a guest or who X was, but they revealed who X was for the Cosmic Angels match beforehand.
Yeah. Matt, what about you?
I saw some of the results. Obviously, I'm going to want to watch this once it comes out on World. As I explained to you, I paid for 3 pay-per-views in a matter of 20 hours.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's a lot.
It did look like it was a fancy, fun show. I did see a picture of the shampoo match, which we put over hugely, and a match that I definitely want to have in 2023. Promoters,
absolutely,
Matt Turner for the shampoo match.
Beauty salon zest match.
That's what it was. I couldn't think of it. Beauty salons. I did see I believe it was Micah and Sai Kamatani with their hairs all the way up in the shampoo, and the two of them just pointing at each other, laughing at each other as if they were like freshmen in college playing a prank on each other. I was like, that had to be a whole heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, I saw a clip of it where it looked like Himeka was giving Saya the something about Mary, like bangs, like she's trying to make the bangs stand out.
Yes.
But because it was billed as a winner cuts their hair match.
Yeah.
And I was like, so when they said it was a collab with the salon, they're basically getting a makeover.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and of the people in that group, the one who could probably use the makeover to be a little more interesting was actually the one who won it. So
yeah,
I did see you win that. Yeah,
yeah.
But no Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I did not see, which I was disappointed. Missed opportunity.
I did just want to say, Mayu obviously was part of the judo jacket rules match, and she managed to progress fantastically quickly because she started the match as an orange belt, and then by the time they had the post-match photos, she'd somehow managed to transition into a black belt. So I don't know how that happened in the process of like that 9-minute match.
It's reversible.
She's the icon.
Oh, is it reversible? Oh, yeah, don't say that.
She turns it inside out. Little camera magic.
Yeah, enough of that. Let's talk about historic crossover. I've been dying to talk about this since the show went up. Honestly, we talked about it a little bit in our Gold Rush review, Karen, and I think we used the phrase it was a watershed moment for the company. And obviously between that and Gold Rush and just what that'll mean going forward for the company, like, what was your opinion of this weekend for Stardom? Am I being too bold calling it a watershed moment, or do you think it can't be understated the importance?
I don't disagree with you. I think it was very ambitious, especially doing 2 shows in the same weekend in opposite cities. Because once that show was over, the entire crew had to get on the Shinkansen, the bullet train, and go back to Tokyo at one of the last trains of the night. So I don't know how much sleep everybody got or how rested everyone was, because the show finished pretty late in the evening on Saturday. So it was one of those things where, like I said before, comparing it to the teeny tiny Shinkiba show I went to back in just before Wrestle Kingdom 14 in January 2020, Gold Rush felt on par on like scale size with historic crossover. It was a large arena. It was packed. It was full of people, great matches. And you can really feel the effect of how much money and effort and marketing Bushiroad has pumped into Stardom. So much so that within their company, it's like within the parent company itself, Stardom's in the black and doing great and making like nearly, I think, 5 to 10 times their original, what they were making when they first got acquired in 2019. So it's one of those things where even though Stardom is like 1/5 the length of age compared to New Japan, they're putting people on notice not only in Japan but outside. And this was a very big milestone for them because it gave them the opportunity to get their faces, and more than just the usual Mayus and Tams and Utamis. It got the whole roster in front of an international audience.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to the Super J Cast with Joel and Damon, fantastic podcast, and they were talking about, how they were surprised a little bit with the production of Stardom and the packages and the costumes and things like that, and how you can tell that there is a lot more money being pumped into the production, like you said, Karen. But Matt, obviously, we talked about both those shows, and the thing for me, which we'll talk about in a moment, is the opening Stardom match on the main card, that 6-woman tag. I thought, despite it being what could be construed as a throwaway tag, he says in inverted commas, I thought everyone in that match managed to give a fantastic account of themselves. The pace at which they wrestled, what they managed to accomplish in, 9 minutes? Yeah, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. I thought they managed to do a fantastic job, Matt.
Yeah, well, that's always like almost a Stardom formula. When we do the reviews on the weekly shows, we're getting lost in it. We're writing notes down. We're like, that happened in 8 minutes. They were able to tell that story in 8 minutes, in 10 minutes. There was 4 people in the match. There were 6 people in the match. There's 8 people in the match, and they're able to tell that story. They cram so much stuff in, and it's not just cramming stuff for the sake of cramming stuff in. They make sure everybody plays a role. Everybody gets over, because in turn, if everybody gets over in the match, or whether it's 2 people, 4 people, 6 people, 8 people, then whoever gets the final pinfall, they get put over the most. And wrestling's the only sport that you can win by losing. Again, I always make the reference all the time. Wrestling changed in 1997 when Stone Cold Steve Austin, with him and Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13. People forget Stone Cold lost that match. But again, wrestling's the only sport that you can do that in. And I thought all 6 of these ladies were fantastic. And I thought Chris and Kevin Kelly did a good job building up the Phoenix Splash from Saya Kamatani, whether she's going to go for it or not. And we talked about it on the podcast just a few days ago, that I think now, because of the danger built behind the Phoenix Splashes, they're going to build it up almost as this nuclear finish. But she hits the Star Crusher, which she does perfectly all the time. And then she hits the Firebird Splash, the 450 splash. She did perfect. I mean, that was like Too Cold Scorpio-esque. It was like Hayabusa-esque, just absolutely perfect, and just a really, really solid finish. And yeah, all 6 of those ladies, they did not miss a beat at all. And it was a really good way for really Stardom on the main show to get off to a really, really good start.
Yeah, it really did set the tone for the rest of the show. And I'm glad you brought up, actually, some people, even when they lose, win. And I want to talk a little bit about that in the main event as well. But New Japan Stardom, historic crossover from Sunday the 20th of November 2022 in the Ariake Arena in Tokyo, Japan, in front of 7,102 people reported. Now, if that attendance is true, then it's the most attended Stardom show in history by a distance. Obviously, the previous one was the Champion Fiesta in 2013, which was 5,500. It's the 7th Stardom show to cross the 2,000 people threshold. Also, interestingly, just for comparison, it's a bigger number than Dominion, which got 6,000, and it's a bigger number than the G1 final, which was 6.7 thousand. Thank you for
Red
Leaf Retrocast on Twitter, just with those little numbers. I thought, I mean, what a statement. Obviously, this is a historic show, but just those 2 little tidbits, like Dominion is, aside from Wrestle Kingdom, the show for New Japan. And for Stardom to outdraw it in Ariake, where New Japan have historically struggled to draw a little bit, is a fantastic thing for the company. And again, that's why I mentioned the watershed. I want to talk a little bit about the pre-show. So we opened with an 8-man tag match, which was the LA Dojo of the Android Alex Coughlin. It's the first time I've seen Alex Coughlin with this gimmick, by the way, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You need to watch New Japan Strong.
I do, honestly.
You really do.
It's on
Rob's in the middle of writing
list.
9 books. So he's a busy guy.
That is true. Clark Connors, Kevin Knight, and Gabe Kidd defeating the New Japan Dojo of Kosei Fujita, Oscar Lube, which I've pronounced horribly. I apologize. Ryohei Oiwa?
Yeah.
Oiwa. Thank you very much, Karen. And Yuto Nakashima with the DPD in 9 minutes and 39 seconds. Matt, I'll throw to you. What did you think of this little opener?
It's a solid opener. I mean, when you have dojo guys like that, you're going to have very basic, solid fundamentals. It's the opener. It's a good way to kind of get the crowd, when they're filing in, get them warmed up, get them going. It didn't overextend what it needed to do. Obviously, Gabriel Kidd is kind of pretty much the biggest, probably the star of these two groups. I'm a huge fan of Clark Connors. You can see big things in his future as well. But I think it was the right finish and a good way to get the pre-show kicked off.
I'm really impressed with some of the LA Dojo, especially. I was at Royal Quest 2 in London when Gabe Kidd fought, I believe, Dan Maloney in the opener. And he was massively over. Obviously, he is British, so that does help. But he's improved hugely. And I'm really glad to see him in Japan because I know he's gone through a really rough time recently. Karen, what about you? What did you think of this opener?
I do love that the Noge Dojo versus LA Dojo feud is still fiery, still hot. Even though Coughlin and Connors and Kidd have all graduated, they're still proudly waving that Shibataism flag, and they're like, "No, mate, we may have graduated, but guess what? We're still at the core, LA Dojo guys." And it's kind of hard because like poor DKC and Yuya Uemura are still like in LA while this is all going on and like not booked on the show. So it was one of those things like, oh, I wanted so much for like at least for them to be there as like seconds or something, but they just like kept them off on purpose.
Yeah.
But Roiba is like 8 feet tall. He's massive. Like I don't like when he fills out, the man is going to be a wall. He's going to be like Lance Archer, and
like
if
Bruiser
you took
Brody.
they take 3 of the biggest wrestlers you could think of, and Walter, and just kind of mash them all together. Like he'll be unstoppable once he fills out a bit more.
Absolutely. I actually wanted to ask, like, you've sort of answered my question. Like, is it Luebe?
I've heard the pronunciation as Roiba. It's German, Austrian. Not in my wheelhouse of languages.
No.
But looking at the katakana, it's basically spelled Roibe.
Right. Okay.
So it's I'm guessing it's Roiba or some version thereof, but again, not my forte.
No, I'm going to call him Oscar just for easy's sake.
The fans are calling him Oscar there, so I would
Makes
stick with
sense.
Oscar.
He was the one that stuck out definitely on the New Japan Dojo side. But again, I really like Clark Connors. I think Clark Connors has got a real connection with the crowd. Again, Gabe Kidd, love to see him doing well. Overall, I really enjoyed this opener, probably more than I should have done. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. Stardom Rambo then, which Mirai wins, which again, Matt, you were right on predictions, but we'll skate
every
over
now
that.
and again. Even a broken clock's right twice a day.
I can't even remember who I picked because I knew I wanted to
pick
go
Kagama.
Mirai as well.
You picked
Did I go
Kagama.
Kagama?
Yeah, because we went with the finals from the Cinderella, and I just went with the winner.
Of course.
That's how we did it.
With Mirai winning by last eliminating Super Strong Stardom Machine with the Mirror Mare Shock in 23 minutes and 6 seconds. Possibly one of my favorite moments of the entire show was the long-awaited return of Super Strong Stardom Machine. I cannot begin to tell you how much I popped at half.
I know you did because you texted me as it happened. We were texting each other. Yes! Usually I watch these shows 9 times out of 10, Karen. I'll watch these shows live as it happened. And then because I'm insane, and then Rob will watch them at a halfway decent time for him. And obviously I won't give him any spoilers. Every now and again, I'll give him a fake spoiler. Like, Becky Lynch came in and won all the belts or something that he knows I'm messing with him. But no, we were texting each other kind of back and forth. And actually, I want to bring this up that my feed once every 15 minutes kept freezing and it would kick me off New Japan World. I'd have to hit the OK button, and then I would go back. So I'm going to kind of build this throughout the podcast because Rob knows where I'm going for the main event, where it kicked me off. So my feed like I said, it'd be about every 13 to 15 minutes, I'd get kicked off, and it would take about 10 to 15 seconds to go back on, which sometimes it wasn't bad. It was like one time it was during the Great O'Con entrance. Okay, no big deal. But there's a couple.
What? No, disagree.
Okay.
Do not
Strongly
besmirch
disagree. Look at that. I got the point. I got the point. From Karen over there.
You gotta be careful, man. You can miss some entrances, but the Great O'Con, he's a civil servant of the people. He is a hero, decorated hero that gives people pancakes.
Yeah.
I'm getting points over here, but it was a super fun match. It was kind of the Saki Kashima show, wasn't it, Rob? It was like
absolutely.
I'm trying to write down my notes, and next thing I know, she just Kishi Kasai and like the whole roster,
everyone. Yeah. But yeah, this was another moment. I thought you mentioned the commentary team. Just before I carry on, Karen, I assume you've only watched it live, or have you watched the replay with the commentary?
I've watched parts of it with commentary, but it was while I was also trying to write my report for Post, and with everything else going on, I've had a bit of a week. So
we haven't noticed.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, so I haven't really heard all of it, but I never thought in my lifetime I would get to see Super Strong Stardom Machine in person. So I was trying to keep myself together because they were like, you can cheer, but be very quiet about your cheering. And I'm like, let's go! But yeah, sorry, Zelda agrees about Super Stardom Strong Machine. But yes, the Kishi Kaisei, no one can stop it.
No,
it is a sight to behold.
Dangerous move in wrestling.
It's one of the most dangerous moves in wrestling.
Absolutely. I stopped making notes because in the end I was just writing Kishi Kasai like 45 times. I can't. But I think having Super Strong Stardom Machine and Mirai, I think it might be the most heel I've ever found Mirai. Eliminating Super Strong Stardom Machine in the last two, I was like, I'm not having this. No, absolutely not. Were you slightly surprised that we didn't see more Stardom legends, or was it a case of let's try and get just everybody needs to try and get on this pay-per-view? Let's stick with the roster that we've got. We get the little pop with Super Strong Stardom Machine. Longer term Stardom fans will sort of pop for that. Do you think, we didn't see any Nene, for example, who has been doing more and more Stardom shows, obviously part of Goddess of Stardom Tag League. Karen, were you surprised there was not more legends? Or
I feel like it was very intentional who they included in the Rumble. The only person that's missing was due to injury, which was Mina Shirakawa, but they got the entire roster on there, including the girls that are like, the twins and Hanan. I feel like Stardom intentionally picked the people they picked because they wanted to have the most authentic and full roster experience, especially with KAIRI being in the main event against Mayu, but we'll get to that. The pamphlet was really great because it included everybody who is considered a full-time member of Stardom.
Oh, okay.
And cool. It featured every single girl's photo, so it's like even if you didn't know who they were, you could at least, like, if you managed, because those sold out really quickly. If you managed to get your hands on one of those guides, then you could basically follow along with like the name and the picture and like some quick stats about them. But yeah, I felt like it ran a little long for as few people that were in it. Because I think they waited until everybody was in the ring to ring the bell.
15, yeah, because there was 15 people in there.
Yeah,
it's certainly not the biggest Rambo that Stardom have ever done.
No, but I also feel like they've done a bigger Rambo with a shorter time. Like it just felt really long, and I don't know if it's because it's been a while since I've been in person in a Rumble where I'm actually have to just watch what I'm doing and not like 18 different things as I'm multitasking at 3:00 in the morning. But yeah, I wasn't opposed to the choices that were made, because I think it'll hook the people that will be the ones that will start getting interest in the show, and saving people like, Nanai Takahashi and you and Prominence and the girls from Colors. Those are more of like, once you're like, that's not your gateway That's not your window into Stardom. That's the once you're there. That's the table setting. So you gotta wait. You have to. Those are the ones you have to wait for. You have to put the effort in to get to those.
I see. Right. So these are like the okay. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it like that, to be honest.
The first one's free, my friend, but after that,
you gotta pay.
See, this is why we wanted you on the podcast, Karen. Just little insights like that. Matt, what do you think of the Rambo?
Yeah, it's always fun. Like, Royal Rumble style. So you're always trying to guess who's going to come out next and hear the music and figure it out and get the pop. I thought it was huge on the English commentary where Chris Charlton was sworn that Waka was going to win. She was in there for all of about 40. And me and you both know we didn't have to. We were texting each other back and forth. We didn't have to text on this one. We know this one. She wasn't going to be in there that long. And she wasn't. But God bless her. But yeah, it was super fun. But what did you expect to happen? Did you expect Stardom Super Strong Machine to win and then like unmask and then be like, because you
honestly,
I
just got caught up in the emotion of the match, man. Just got caught up in the emotion. Like, it's the return. Everybody knows. It's like Edge in 2010, man. Comes out, wins the Rumble. Like, that's what happens. Future red belt champion, Super Strong Stardom Machine. Hashtag absolutely. I want to talk about Waka later because considering she can speak good English, really good English, but it's not her first language. The fact that she did such an outstanding job on commentary, and especially in that main event, I'll leave it till the main event, but I thought she did an outstanding job in that match as well. We then move on to, obviously, the main show. And before we get that, we get a fantastic video package. Like, the video package hit hard. And it was at that point that it was like, right, so this really is a collaborative show. It's not a New Japan show with some Stardom matches tagged on. This is very much a joint show. These two companies, check them both out. And I thought the video packages in Stardom certainly have been improving at a rapid rate. For example, the Tora and Utami one from a couple of weeks back. I thought that was a really good video package. The one before Mayu and KAIRI was a fantastic video package, probably the best one that Stardom have ever done. But I thought this really did set up, this is how important this show is. This is Stardom. We're going to blow you away. I don't know if you guys felt the same, but sure, I honestly, it set me up completely for the rest of the show. We open then with everybody's favorite House of Torture with our opening match, 8-man tag team match, the Chaos team of Tomohiro Ishii, Yoshihashi, Yo, and Lio Rush defeating the House of Torture, Evil Show, Yujiro Takahashi, and Dick Togo with the 3K in 7 minutes and 5 seconds. House of Torture, Karen. What are your thoughts on the House of Torture?
I don't know if you know this, Rob, but before Show decided to turn on Yo and break hearts around the world, I was a massive Roppongi 3K fan, and Show of the two is my favorite. So I've been going through it for the last year, to be perfectly honest.
Like a long breakup.
Yes, you get dumped, and then you see your ex running with a new crowd, and you're just like, you're better than all this. I know you're better than all this, but at the same time, if this is what he needs to do to advance his career for the time being, sure, I guess it's fine. But God, do I miss 2020 era Show so much.
Just think back to the 2019 Best of the Super Juniors where he was pulling match of the night out every single night.
Yeah.
And then
he finally pinning Shingo Takagi, chasing for the Never Belt at Dominion. It's been hard.
Don't worry, Karen. I'm still not over.
I love him, but it's been hard.
I'm still not over Shawn Michaels throwing Marty Jannetty through the barbershop thing, though. So.
I know
two Brutus Beefcake references, Rob. There you go, buddy.
Honestly, some wounds are never meant to heal. Look, it's House of Torture. Like, you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get shenanigans beyond belief. It's Dick Togo. He's in there. You know he's taking the pin. I'm really glad that Lio Rush got the pinfall. Obviously, teaming with Yo now in the Super Junior Tag League, which I think is going to be a really good fit because, bless him, Yo has been very much treading water since the Best of the Super Juniors final. And it doesn't feel like New Japan quite know what to do with Yo. But hopefully he goes on, does well in the Super Junior Tag League. Maybe we see him against Catch 22 at Wrestle Kingdom, which I think him and Lio Rush versus Akira and TJP would be a very, very tasty match. Matt, obviously, I daren't ask Karen again, just in case I bring up memories of show.
You can ask, it's fine.
No, go on, Karen. I'll ask Matt.
I'm never doing the podcast again.
This is supposed to be a Stardom podcast. Why are we unpacking my emotional damage? I feel like this match is designed purely to showcase Lio Rush, as this was his first match in Japan. It was, he had been doing dates with New Japan Strong. He'd gone to AEW. He'd been doing a whole bunch of things. But this match is purely about showcasing Lio and giving people some hope that Yo has some kind of direction. Sadly, in a tag situation after being a singles wrestler for over a year at this point. I'm kind of hoping that they pull the trigger on him next year, especially with Master Wato being in the four-way kingdom, but that's neither here nor there. I feel like they're honestly just treading water with Chaos and House of Torture for the Dome. It's either going to be a Never Sixth Gauntlet or that they're going to do something with those belts again. Sadly, again.
Yeah, I think the match just served almost as like a commercial for Lio and Yo for the tag
for
league.
For the junior tag league.
And I think you see that quite a bit, and we'll get into it even with the United Kingdom versus the LIJ tag match. There was a lot of almost like, this is really good stuff, but we're going to sprinkle some seeds for stuff going in the future. Like almost like, hey, we're in this giant venue in front of a lot of people. Let's leave them wanting more. And there was a lot of that in the show, which is another reason why it made the show so good. And it had so much buzz and a lot of questions being asked of, what's next.
Absolutely. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. It had its purpose. And again, you said about highlighting Lio Rush. He came out first. He opened the show. So, you don't need more of a spotlight than that, do you really? He opened the show, got the pinfall. So well done to Lio Rush. Matt, am I right? I'm going to guess 3 stars for you.
Yeah, the gentleman's 3 stars, as I like to give them.
3 stars, of course. The gentleman's 3. Karen, of course, you don't have to join in on the star ratings, but if you would like to, please shout.
We'd like to do this on the Stardom Cast. We're big fans of star ratings, whether it means or not.
Sorry, my mom's on the patio making faces at me, trying to get me to laugh.
She didn't like 3 stars. She's like, this wasn't 3 stars.
She's like, are you kidding me? No. As a former teacher, I give gold stars to everyone. So I think it was a very honest match in the sense that it's going to give people a very fair view of what you can expect in New Japan, because the House of Torture, whether we love them or hate them, they are a staple of the current landscape of New Japan. So everybody gets a gold star.
Anyone that is listening to this in audio form, I actively encourage you to go and find the video and watch Karen's face as she's saying that, because honestly, I have never seen such pain in someone's eyes.
I have no poker face, let's be honest. I can't, I could never be a secret agent, none of that, because I'm just like, I am the worst liar ever.
We move on to match 2 then, which was the first Stardom match of the main card. Match 2, 6-woman tag team match. The Queen's Quest team of Azumi Saya Kamatani and Lady C defeating the Donna Del Mondo team of Himika Tekla and Mai Sakurai with the Firebird Splash in 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Matt, I'll start with you this time. We've talked a little bit about this match and how it set the tempo for the rest of the card, especially on the Stardom side. What other thoughts did you have on this match?
I thought the two teams worked well together. Again, we talk all the time about how well Queen's Quest they gel. Doesn't matter which group it is, but I thought everybody looked really good here. Obviously, they did a great job highlighting the 2 champions, Azumi and Saya Kamatani. And Saya Kamatani came looking off like the biggest star here in this match. And everything really flowed real well. The Donald Demando team was great. There was a really cool spot where Himika squatted both Azumi and Saya Kamatani, which again, they're two of the champs there. So that was a really, really, really cool spot. She kind of just threw them in the back. So they did a good job highlighting her strengths. They really didn't do anything where anybody was like overexposed. It was all, hey, here's a, I always look at matches like, okay, how were they planning this out? And it's like, okay, let's do this. Take 2 or 3 of your biggest moves. Let's combine everything. Let's make sure everything makes sense. And then we know we're going for the finish. I mean, the finish was, I think everybody knew it was going to be the Star Crusher and either the Phoenix Splash or the Firebird Splash. And she, like I said a few minutes ago, absolutely perfect. I mean, that was, if this was the Olympics and I was a judge, that was 10 out of 10 on the Firebird Splash. I mean, Sai Kamatani had it absolutely perfect and just a really good way to end a really solid match. And I had it at 3.5 stars.
Yeah, same rating for me. I think had the Phoenix Splash not gone wrong against Mina, I think we'd seen a Phoenix Splash here.
Sure.
I do like the narrative. Obviously, we talked about this on our Gold Rush show, Matt. I do like the narrative that they're weaving about sort of Saya's self-doubt about, I'd rather hit my other moves and win that way than having to bring out the Phoenix Splash. But also in real life, I know it did rock her a little bit. So to be able to hit the picture perfect Firebird Splash, it'll do her confidence a wonder, pun intended. It'll, do wonders for her confidence. And obviously she pulled an absolute barn burner the night before against KAIRI. Karen, what about you? What did you think about this match?
What I liked about this match was that of the women in this match, a lot of their partners were featured in the mixed tag matches. So instead of relegating them to the Rumble, they gave those individuals an opportunity to be on the main card. And Queen's Quest and Don Del Mundo, can't do no wrong with them. No. They've fought each other more than enough times to make everything seamless and flow together. And like the talking about the United Empire versus LIJ match, this was also a good way to tease Goddesses Tag League. Because Mai Sakurai from DDM and Lady C and Queen's Quest are the odd couple pairing. That after this match where they have beat each other up, they got to tag together the next a couple of days later, and as My Fair Lady. And a lot of the partners were either for the other competitors were either in the mixed tag matches or not in the main card. So it was nice to see them be able to do a proper match. I sort of wish, and I know they can't because based on the numbers, I wish there was one more Stardom match, whether it was an 8-person or even just a standard tag, because the card did feel a little New Japan heavy in that department, especially with the Keiji Muto, let's squeeze Okada on the card match.
Sure. It was very much, yeah.
So, the card was very well balanced for the most part, but I just wish they could have done just one more Stardom match. But it was arguably a very long night.
God, yeah, it was 5 hours.
And the concessions there, they don't have concessions like they do here that stay open the entire time. They're by midway through the show, everything's shut down and shuttered.
Oh,
so
no.
If you didn't eat or didn't bring anything in to eat with you, no. I'm glad.
5 hours as well.
I'm glad I brought my rice ball and my salad from the convenience store.
Mai Sakurai, obviously, in this match, we've talked about how, I'll be perfectly honest, when she first debuted, I thought she was rubbish. I will hold my hands up. I thought she hadn't improved at the rate she should have done. I thought she was a little bit overexposed. Not in the same way that Unagi was briefly, but even so. However, I think the improvement shown in May, especially just prior to the 5-star and then up through the 5-star, has been fantastic. She needs to get a new finisher, and I will again, Matt, you said you'd die on that elbow drop.
I love it.
If I have to see that elbow drop again, honestly, I'll scream. But I was just wondering, what are your opinions on Mai Sakurai's development, Karen?
Well, Mai arrived back in September of last year, and I believe at that point she had just over or just under a year of wrestling experience prior. So she's still kind of in that rookie stage. I know why they kind of threw her into Cosmic Angels at the beginning just to give Cosmic Angels the numbers, but from the time she departed Cosmic Angels and started hanging out with GDM and under Julia's learning tree, as it were, she's improved significantly.
Yeah.
I feel like part of it could have also been she found a character and a look that she was more comfortable in her own skin with. Because the as adorable and as lovely as the dancing pop idols that our cosmic angels are, that is a look and a design that is not meant for everyone. For all my love of Mina Shirakawa, could never be a cosmic angel. I can't dance. I am like Waka. I have no rhythm.
Three peas in a pod of this podcast today, Rob. Let me tell you.
The ruffles and the fluffles, that's not my vibe. Like give me the God's eyes and the DDMs all day, every day, maybe even a little Oedo Tai. But what Mai needed is that she needed to find a persona she was comfortable in, and I don't think it was until she got to DDM and surrounded herself with people that I guess complement her better, both stylistically and visually, that she was able to start having the pieces fall into place for her.
Yeah, similarly to how Natsupoi fits Cosmic Angels better than she did DDM, I feel like Mei Sakurai fits DDM and their style a lot more. And actually, they did the turn, turning on Cosmic Angels from Mei Sakurai. They actually told that story really well about how she wants to wrestle, and that's why she wants to go with Julia. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. Overall, I felt like this was a 9-minute advert for Stardom. Right, this is what Stardom is about. We're going to throw it all at you. Big hitting moves, quick pace, and you actually notice that it's a significantly quicker pace than the New Japan multi-man tags. There is a big difference between the speed at which they're wrestling. I did just want to ask you one question before we move on to the mixed tag. Azumi was interviewed afterwards, and some of these post-match interviews are brilliant. But Azumi basically said, to tell you the truth, there was someone I wanted to team with in a mixed tag. Now, if they were to do historic crossover to Electric Boogaloo, yes, absolutely.
As you do Doodaloo.
As you do Doodaloo, absolutely.
Adding to it.
I mean, I'm assuming this is just me. I'm assuming she's talking about Ospreay, because I know that her and B and Ospreay used to be quite close. I might be completely wrong, but that's who I thought about. Who do you think she's referring to, Karen? And then I'll shoot to you, Matt.
When they originally announced to start crossover and the matchup was teased as El Desperado and Starlight Kid, I wanted to hope beyond hope that the high-speed bomb daughter and the ticking time bomb were going to do a master class of high-speed hijinks with Despian Kid.
That would have been insane. Oh, they've got to do that next year.
Right?
If they do it again. Oh my God.
Mr.
Azumi
Obari,
and Hiromu.
Mr. Kidani,
come
Rossi, if you're listening, you like money, right? That is money. Lots of money.
Karen, you have an in with New Japan. Come on.
I had a temporary in. My historic cross column is finished for the time being. If there is a historic crossover 2 and they want to bring me back,
I think you need to use your pull 100%.
I'm so bad about that. Like I just want people to love the wrestling and to love Stardom. That's my end game.
Matt, what about you? Who would you I mean, to be honest, I don't see how you can top the team of Azumi and Hiromu.
That's who I thought it was. Obviously, you can always go to the top, where why wouldn't you say Okada, Tanahashi? But just for me to be different in this segment, Azumi throws a lot of arm bars. I got to go old school. What about Azumi and Fujiwara? Huh? Yeah. Right? Who better be like Azumi? Those arm bars are really good. But let's throw it back to Carl Gotch's favorite student, Fujiwara. There you go.
Put her with Ishimori.
Ishimori would be good. Sorry, I'm getting really excited to the point where my girlfriend's going, because I'm really loud. Sorry.
Well, you're not lamenting and like begging her to bring you tea as you talk less. She's like, wait. She's like, you're better now. You're better now. That's it. Service time is finished. You're on your own, mate.
She doesn't listen to this podcast, does she, Rob? She's getting the jigs up.
Hope not. Jesus. Let's move on to match 3 then. The mixed tag team match with the Zack Sabre Julia team defeating Syuri and Filthy Tom Lawler with the European clutch in 10 minutes and 29 seconds. We talked about winners earlier, and I'm going to ask you both now, was there a bigger winner on this show than Filthy Tom Lawler?
No. Tom Lawler lived his best life ever.
He took the pinfall, and honestly, I have never seen a man so excited to take a pinfall as Filthy Tom Lawler in this match. Honestly, just him standing just in the vicinity of Sturi, and the man looked giddy. This is a man who's accomplished a hell of a lot between his MMA and his wrestling. And, you know, he said in his post-match about basically this was the highlight of his career, to be able to team with his favorite wrestler ever in Sturi. And Sturi, bless, is just looking like, oh. Honestly, I think the entirety of this was just executed to perfection. All the stuff that Filthy Tom did with his gear, the fact that he was beaten up by a briefly teamed up Alto Lavella Kabalawan. I love that. I don't think, and again, he smiled the entire time, which sort of gave it away a little bit. But honestly, I've never spoken to Filthy Tom. I hope to at some point. But honestly, I was so damn happy for this man, Matt. Like, honestly, I've never watched a match with such a smile on my face because of someone else's enjoyment.
Yeah. And Tom, if you're listening, you have an open invitation to come on the podcast anytime. Love to have you on. But yeah, I thought it was really cool that the first interaction because it was supposed to be just the females with the females and the males with the males. And the first interaction you have is basically a 40-second reunion of ALK beating up on Tom Lawler. And did you notice that when him and Zack Sabre Jr. were trading knee bars on the floor, Sherry, who's one of the hardest strikers, not only in Stardom, but in wrestling as well, she was booting Zack Sabre, and Julia was booting Tom Lawler, and Julia was booting Lawler even harder. And after the first one he hit him, he turned to her and said something, which he might have said, "Hit me harder." She just booted like his face, like he was in all of his glory. And obviously the main crux of the match just seemed to be, again, a free commercial for Shuri versus Julia coming up, for Ryogoku. But let's give credit where credit's due. Tom Lawler and Zack Sabre Jr. had phenomenal chemistry, especially with their catch wrestling on the ground. Tom Lawler quickly goes for like a gotch toe hole, and the two of them start trading knee bars and ankle Achilles locks back and forth, which leads them to rolling to the outside. And then Tom Lawler has the great idea for him and Shuri to do the Muda Tokyo Dome run to kick Julia and Zack Sabre Jr. in the back as hard as humanly possible. I thought that was great. Even the little touch with Tom Lawler coming out with the red glasses, for the red of, the red belt and the red whatever the heck that was he had on his head. And then even when he took the shorts off and had the super shorts on, he had like a bedazzled God's eye on the back of his shorts. And I think it was either Kevin Kelly, Chris Charlton said, yeah, I watched him do that himself in the back a few hours earlier. So can you just imagine Tom Lawler, one of the biggest badasses in New Japan, great UFC run, just great wrestler. He's just sitting there just bedazzling God's eye.
Embroidering his shorts.
Into his denim shorts.
Honestly, awesome. I love the man. I think, obviously, between that and then, obviously, while he was doing his dance and taking off his shorts, did you notice him telling Shuri and Julia to close their eyes?
Oh, I didn't see that.
He's a gentleman.
Brilliant.
What a gentleman.
Absolute gentleman, Filthy Tom Lawler. Karen, what about you? What did you think about it?
I could best describe Shuri and Tom Lawler as Rapunzel and Flynn Rider from Tangled, where Tom Lawler is Rapunzel swinging around the tree with her hair going, best day ever! Because Tom Lawler, literally, it was the most wholesome wrestling match I had ever seen. He took everything on the chin, literally. From the two of them. Mm-hmm. Him grabbing Shuri by the hand and like running with her up the ramp together and being like, let's do this. It was one of those things, like, again, yes, it was a big tease for their match at Ryogoku at the end of the month next month, but it also tied in his rivalry in the G1 with Zack Sabre Jr. And it, on paper, like on the initial reveal, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess, you have two former UFC people and two people who are from England. Yeah, great. But then like the layers started just like piling on top, and it was everything felt like everyone was just having fun.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the biggest thing I wanted out of historic crossover, is that the mixed matches in particular, they don't need to be serious. No. You can showcase all the hard hitting power moves and all that fun stuff, but when all the rules started getting a little I don't know, fluid, as it were. when the pirate guidelines started coming into play and everyone was just like, forget it, let's have fun with this. It was, I couldn't get enough of that match. Like the mixed tags on the show were just, I want an entire card of just mixed tags. I don't know if we'll ever get it. I don't know if they'll ever like do those kind of mixed matches on like New Japan Strong or on the international tours. But man, it just looked like so much fun.
And considering, you could argue that, again, I don't want to use the term throwaway, but again, initially when the cards were announced, we were like, oh, okay, it's just some multi-mans. But the chemistry that everyone had with one another, whether it's Black Desire and El Despi and Doki, or whether it's Hiroshi Tanahashi and Utami, or Micah and Goto, who are effectively the same person. They are. Repping. But honestly,
I do love the designs of those shirts. I had the most difficult time at the merch table, but I ended up with the Zack Sabre Julia versus Filthy Gods shirt.
I might well get that, to be fair. But
it came together very nicely. I would highly recommend you getting that one.
But yes, for those, again, who are listening in the audio realm, me and Matt are both sporting opposite historic crossover t-shirts, with Matt sporting Utami, and I'm not going to stand up.
My other one's literally right there. They just came in the mail yesterday. It's like
I'm not going to stand up because I'm not in as good a shape as Matt is. Not even close. But yeah, overall, love this match. It's a match where, again, I watched it the entire time with this huge smile on my face because the chemistry was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and again, the final thing that you pretty much see is in front of 7,000 people, and who knows watching at home, is Shuri holding up the belt with Julia standing there, and that's the perfect pause, and you can literally hear the flashbulbs going off. Like, that's our main event for our big show at the end of the year. That was, as brilliant as everything was, that was the big bow, the cherry on top of the ice cream. That's like, this was good. It was fun. You saw some great technical wrestling. You saw everybody, get involved. This was great. It was solid. Didn't go too long, but boom, that's what we wanted.
And if you enjoyed it,
yes,
Stardom Dream Kingdom is in less than 40 days.
As though we needed any more reason to look forward to Julia and Shuri. I gave it 3 3/4 stars simply because of how much I loved Tom Lawler loving it. What about you, Matt?
3.5. You liked it a little bit more than me.
There we go. And Karen, just a gold star, I assume.
Gold stars for everyone, especially Tom Lawler. He gets a TR of gold stars.
Whoa.
What a man. What a man. Match 4, talking about chemistry. Match 4 was another 8-person, but a mixed tag match with the team of Melty Itaichi and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeating the team of Black Desire, El Desperado, and Dookie, with Taichi getting the win with the Black Mephisto in 12 minutes and 1 second. Matt,
yes.
I know that you are obviously Meltier fan number 1. What was your opinion of this match? Because I've got a feeling it was probably your favorite mixed tag.
Yeah, this was, I think, probably my 3rd highest rated match of the show. You could probably figure out 1 and 2 are. But you know me, Rob. I don't think there's many bigger Momo Watanabe fans than me, but she's got to stop breaking up these Meltear entrances. You just got to. I get it. You're a heel. I get it. You got to stop. But I even text you, like, who's going to come out last? I'm like, oh, Meltear has the final entrance. Like, that's a big deal in Japan that of all these wrestlers, they have the final entrance. And then they came down with Taichi, and they came down with the Taichi mask. And if you remember, I even texted you. It looked like Tam's mask was falling off, but she's so smart. She took it off on purpose as the camera was going up so everybody can see the whole entire presentation that is one Tam Nakano. That being said, I thought this was hilarious. I thought how about Momo just kicking the crap out of everybody in this match, male, female, didn't matter. You in the line of sight, you were getting kicked, and you did get to see a lot of this, male versus female. This happened a lot in this match with a lot of interaction, but really the chemistry between, we've seen it before a lot actually recently, the chemistry between the current tag champs Meltear and the former tag champs in Black Desire and Momo and Starlight Kid. I thought that was very well done. And even the mask with Starlight Kid and El Desperado kind of going half El Desperado, half Starlight Kid.
Love it.
Just the presentation of just like just these two teams, especially on, again, the Meltear presentation. We all know how much I love it and how much you disagree with me, but that's a-okay. You're not alone. There's somebody else in the Turner household that is 100% in your camp, brother. So don't you worry about it.
Me and Amber. Amber.
I showed her. I know. I was watching the Cork and Hall yesterday, and I was on my computer, and she was gluing something for church or something that she had to do. And the entrance just happened, and I took my computer and I go, "Hey, hon, look!" And I turned it to her, and she goes, "Do they know this is wrestling and not Cinderella?"
See,
like walked away. She was so
this
mad.
is my thing.
She gets so mad. But all in all, this match was great. But now it looks like we have, not only was this match great, and you had a lot of layers of different things going on between the two teams and the factions and whatnot. But now are we getting a different? She's got a little taste of the whiskey, Rob.
She has. Whiskey
Mist.
We saw her trying it in some training montages, which she was not a fan of. And bless her, Natsupoi is perhaps the most innocent person in the entire Stardom roster. Apart from Waka. Yeah, apart from Waka, obviously. But watching her try Uncle Nobu's whiskey was hilarious. Karen, what about you? What did you enjoy about this match?
I love how it was El Desperado trying to keep his two little rowdy kid sisters in check, especially during the entrances. He's like, come on. It's fine. But then he had like Natsupoi's number the entire time in the match. And I'm like, sir, what are you doing? I sort of wished that Momo had gone for a Doki half mask just for this for this match, because she was like the odd one out with like no mask on.
Yeah.
It was a fun match. I do like that they kind of separated the loyalties of Suzuki-gun, because Suzuki-gun is wildly popular. So I did like how they split them between Oedo Tai and Cosmic Angels. But yes, Natsupoi doing the Fairial Whiskey Mist, or whatever you want to call it.
Fairial Mist, I think she's calling it. Yeah.
Adorable. It was adorable. Like she was just so proud of herself. I was proud of her.
Big character arc.
I don't know. This might be Natsupoi's heel turn moment. I don't know.
Oh my god! Imagine.
I would love to see her and Nobu against. So I don't know who you put them against. Maybe someone who could tag with a junior, but it would be great to see them just do a standard mixed tag against Despy, and Kid would be a great example. Yes. I just want to see Despy and Kid do all the things, honestly, because in my eyes they can't do any wrong. No, and I did like that the entrance of Meltier, Maru, and Kanemaru and Taichi got the weekly Shoe Pro cover this week.
Yes,
yeah. Everything that happened on this show, and that was the cover. Like, I'm the biggest Meltier fan in the world. I'm like, really? You weren't going to put like KAIRI holding the belt on the cover, or like Kenny Omega?
Yeah,
secondary, mate.
I kind of thought it was going to be KAIRI, but I do like how Taichi's kind of parlaying it into his King of Pro Wrestling shenanigans with Shingo. And have you guys watched Goddess Tag League from earlier this week?
Not the Corrigan. You have, Matt, haven't you? I haven't watched the
I'm on the main event, yeah.
Am I allowed to give a teeny spoiler?
Of course you are.
So Tam and Poi come in, their matches against We Love Tokyo Sports, which is Kashima and Fukigen Death, who have their Tokyo Sports newspapers. They come in with their magazine covers, and they kind of have a
sword fight.
They have a battle of
sword fight with them.
Periodicals. They have a periodical battle, as it were, and it's rather cute.
Good way to sell magazines.
Yeah,
I ordered mine, Rob. As soon as I saw that, I waited my 24 hours for it to pop on eBay, and I hit up my Japan guy, and he's like, "Send it." Yep.
Love the fact that you have a Japan guy. That's brilliant. Yeah, it was a fun match. Again, this was a perfect example of sort of showing that chemistry between the Stardom roster and the New Japan roster, whether it be the half and half mask of Kid and Despy, or whether it be the Taichi masks. I did really, really enjoy Taichi just standing stock still in front of this very theatrical entrance of Meltier and just not breaking character at all. I did sort of want him to get his microphone and start miming, but no, nothing. He stood stock still as the two ladies started doing their thing, which obviously, yes, Matt, you are a far bigger fan of that than me. We did get a little bit of a tease after this, where it could be throwaway, where Taichi and Tam were talking, I believe, about potential IWGP mixed tag team championships. I'd be surprised if that is ever a thing, but Karen, would you be interested in? I know that obviously you would want Kid and Despy to win and hold them for years,
forever. It's just their belt. Well, no. Do you guys on New Japan World there is a Shinichi Champion, which is translated into New Japan TV. It's like a variety TV program that they do. And they recently did a ladies panel episode with Desperado, talking about all the wonderful things about Desperado. And it was prior to historic crossover. I almost called it prehistoric crossover. Those fighting dinosaurs.
I did mention Fujiwara before. So
yeah, but in that they have a segment where they all talk about like they fantasy book a scenario with their favorite wrestler. And this one, it was all about Desperado. So it was like, one was camping with Despy, another one was just like, dinner with Despy. But Starlight Kid, because it was right before Star Crossover, wanted to have IWGP mixed tag champions where she and Despy got to cut a promo together as the new champions. So it would be so great. New Japan has so many belts right now, and Stardom's getting to that point where now they have so many belts that it was like they would have to shelve something to make space for it. Whether it's the Never belts or the SWA belt, they'd have to get rid of a belt somewhere.
I get the feeling that if they were to get rid of a belt at some point, it's going to be the SWA belt, because it sort of is the same belt as the IWGP belt, but
minus the opposite nationality stipulation.
Yeah, minus the hamstringing rule set that makes it impossible to defend at times. But we won't talk about that today. But yes, I would. I don't know whether I'd like to see it, but it would be interesting. And actually, I want to talk about this a little bit more in this next match. But before we do that, Matt, your rating, not for just Melt here.
Melt here at 7 stars. This match.
How dare you?
I went that low. 4 stars. This was great. This had a little bit. It had the comedy, had the psychology. It had really cool spots. I thought everything melted. No pun intended. Really? Hello.
Are you a little teary-eyed as it
were? Hello. I just wanted 4 stars.
Yeah, I went 3.5. It was great. It was a really enjoyable match. Again, another really good sort of crossover, basically, which is the whole point of this show. We had match 5, which was another mixed tag team match with the team of Hiroshi Tanahashi and Utami Hayashishita defeating Hiroki Goto and Maika with the hijack bomb in 9 minutes and 36 seconds. A couple of things surprised me about this match. The first thing was that Maika ate the pinfall. Very surprised about that. But I suppose you don't want Goto eating the pinfall as he's defending the tag league with Yoshihashi. But I am surprised they gave Maika the pinfall, but never mind, that doesn't matter. I was surprised how much man-on-woman violence there was from Mr. Hiroshi Tanahashi. Like, the ace of New Japan physically, like, slapping Maika, like, proper full-on. I was like, oh, my God, Jesus. Like, we saw it a little bit in the Meltier and Black Desire match. But here it was like, it was almost like Maika took it as a challenge. Like, sorry, you don't want me to hit you. Right, well, here you go. And she just goes at Tana, and Tana's like, seems surprised. And then's like, I'm going to give it a back. Come on, man. But I just wanted to like sort of. There's been obviously a debate about man-on-woman matches and mixed gender matches, and I was just interested to hear both of your takes on that, and whether this crossed the line or whether it towed it perfectly. Now, Matt, obviously you're a pro wrestler. Obviously, I don't know whether you've done intergender matches or not. How they're approached differently, or what your thoughts on them are, or basically did they go too far in this match, or was it fine, Matt? Is what I'm asking.
From my perspective, where I wrestle in the Northeast, mostly Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, mixed matches are all the time. It's literally almost like you get to a show, and if you don't know who you're wrestling beforehand, it's a possibility that when you read the lineup, you might be wrestling a female, which is fine. If you're in the ring, I treat you as an equal. We're going to go out there. Let's go the best match possible. Let's get your stuff over, my stuff over, yada, yada, yada. Because they were very going into the show. They're very like, no, it's the women versus the women, the men versus the men. And then we saw a little bit interaction going up until this match, and then you saw a lot of it here. The only thing I was kind of a little bit yes, get your hand up.
No. I was literally saying it escalated. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you were asking a question.
Didn't want to interrupt you.
Yes, Mr. Goodwin. The only thing that was kind of like how you just said a few minutes ago, that the fact that it was like Tanahashi that just open hand slapped Maika was like, Tanahashi is one of the biggest baby faces ever in the history of wrestling in any company. Like, so lovable. Never, I don't think he's ever wrestled match as a heel, just a guy you can get behind. And then it was like, he hits Maika, but then Maika dumped him on his head. So I guess, fair play. So I had no problem with it. I was just like, out of all people to really kind of get overly aggressive was Tanahashi. I was like, oh, he kind of didn't see that coming. So I'm going to kind of just, that's my answer. But my question is, if they do a historic crossover to Electric Boogaloo, as we refer, I think they're going to. That's what it was. I couldn't figure out what it was. I'm going to keep forgetting. And they do more of these matches. Would you like to see more of the interaction where it's like, we're just going to take the rule book, we're going to throw it out. If you're in the ring, whoever gets tagged, that's who you're in with. Would the two of you like to see that? I obviously am all for it. Again, it happens all the time in the Northeast Indies, and a lot of indies you see it really over here in the States. Is that something that you would like to see more of the mixing of the men and the women if they do another historic crossover too?
Karen, I'll throw the question to you first.
When they first announced historic crossover and the mixed tag concept and how stringent it was going to be, very much like WWE mixed match rules where men face men, women face women, Tanahashi kind of teased this era of new violence, as it were, where he's like, there's always that 5 seconds in between tags where something could happen. And I feel like in the build up to their match in particular, given his history with Goto and Maika's history with Utami, it was I'm sure everything that happened in the ring was consensual. And I think that was probably the biggest thing. And that moving forward, even though intergender wrestling is common in Japan, especially in places like DDT and a lot of smaller promotions, I do see there will be a fair bit of pushback if it gets too gender neutral in the fighting sense. There are fans in Japan in particular that are very much Stardom is Stardom, New Japan is New Japan. It should never get this close or even closer than, akin to the Western standard. I liked how they all flirted with the line, but I don't think any match, including the Tanahashi match, I don't think any of them crossed it. And I'm fairly certain there was a lot of discussion beforehand about what everybody would be comfortable with. Because I've seen Tanahashi slap down a 6-foot man with that slap. So for Maika, who's like maybe 5'3", to just stand there and be like, all right, then go on. And then be willing to pick all 230 pounds of him up and throw him over her shoulder.
Right, yeah.
I was so worried about her knees. I was so worried about her knees when she wanted to do that. I feel like I would like to see maybe just a little more flexibility, provided that all the competitors in the ring are comfortable with it. But I also feel like there would need to be a bigger discussion in Japan, especially for the younger fans that aren't acclimated to intergender wrestling. And for us, internationally, we have our own international privilege where we're more accustomed to it. In Japan, it's not so commonplace, even though there are promotions that do have it.
I mean, I'm not massively familiar with the culture in Japan, so I'm not sure how it's perceived over there. So that's great that you're able to give that point of view, Karen. I think from my standpoint, it's a case of if it's consensual in a ring, then fine. Obviously, I do understand that people see it as a domestic violence issue. I do understand that. But I think in a ring, you can understand that they have given consent for this to happen. And it is entertainment, ultimately. It's wrestling, it's sport, ultimately. And obviously, Karen, you already said, Tanahashi sort of teased that this was happening. And it was Maika that threw down. It was Maika who threw the first punch. Maika who was like, I'm not stepping down. Come on, bring it on. And I think as long as that is the line that's towed, and again, as long as it doesn't get too, we haven't got Tanahashi going full light tube on Micah, for example.
Yeah.
I
Or
think
anybody.
that, or anybody ever, yeah.
Jeez. Rob really went over the line on that one.
I didn't know we were gonna have deathmatch time.
Tanahashi.
but
Hey, why not, dude? Go Ace.
He's made of glass. We can't afford
those,
to.
Yeah, those love and energy are very tired. I need those knees to stay in place, please.
Absolutely.
Rob's creating new characters in New Japan.
But I think as long as it continues to, I think I completely agree with both of you. I think they towed the line perfectly in this show. I think it is up for discussion if they do number 2. Overall, though, in terms of this match, loved it. I really love Goto, despite the fact that he is, and I hate to say this, a serial loser. I love Goto. I really, really do. He has got, and I will stand by this, he has got the most iconic theme in New Japan. I love that theme. I remember my first ever Wrestle Kingdom watching it live, which was Wrestle Kingdom 11, which I assume was, quite a few people's first Wrestle Kingdom, and hearing that. And it was like, oh, Jesus, that is... No, it wasn't. I tell a lie. It was Wrestle Kingdom 12, which was the one after the one I started watching.
Yeah, 11 and 12. 11 goes after 12, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Thank you. Thank you for clearing up my numbers there, Matt. It was 12. I'd watched 11. 12 was the one I watched, and Goto came in for his match with Suzuki, and I was like, oh, my God, this thing...
That was the hair versus hair match, yeah?
It was. I love that match. It's one of my favorite matches. The end of Wrestle Kingdom 12, like those last week, got the Junior 4-way, you've got Omega versus Jericho, Tana versus Jay White, and then Okada versus Naito. Such a good show. Anyway, but yeah, overall, I thought this was a really good match. I gave it 3 3/4. I love the idea of Tanahashi and Utami being a team. I think they're both icons. Maybe not Utami to the same point as Mayu, but I think she will grow into that definitely. And her post-match where she got the name of her own company wrong was hilarious. We move on then to match 6, which was a 10-man tag match, which saw the United Empire of Aussie Open, Catch-22, and Gideon Gray defeating the Los Gobernables de Japón team with the Coriolis in 9 minutes and 55 seconds. Karen, what did you think of this?
That match was purely to promote Super Junior World Tag League and get United Empire and LIJ on the card.
Yep.
That's all that was. It was not too deep. There's nothing very big about it. Naito's perpetual torment of Gideon Gray continues.
It's hilarious, isn't it?
He's a master. It's a master class what he does. I love Naito so much, purely for like how much thought he puts into everything. Like, who is he picking a fight with? He's picking a fight with the manager of the United Empire. It's not even like a wrestler, not even a wrestler. Like, I mean, he is a wrestler, but like not like anyone he's facing in World Tag League or even in Junior Tag League. He's picking with the guy who just comes in and does the entrance introduction for everyone.
It's just, I love Gideon Gray. Like,
yes.
when he first joined, I wasn't familiar with him. And then the more I watched him, the more I found him hilarious. And then he was obviously at Royal Quest 2. And the heat he got was insane when he announced the Great Khan. And I was just like, I get it now. Honestly, I love him. And he gets his ass handed to him every single match. Wrestles with his coat on, which pops me every single time. I'm never going to not enjoy a Los Ingonobles Day upon multi-man, especially when you've got the likes of Shingo and Naito in there. Bushi was definitely eating the pin there if it wasn't Gideon Gray. Bless him. But Matt, what about you? Anything to add about this 10-man?
I totally agree with Karen. This was just a further vehicle to promote the tag league. You have 10 people in there with you're going 9 minutes. So I mean, it was what it was. It's just to get them on the card. LIJ, they draw tickets. Naito's a ticket drawer. And I think the main thing of this match was to get United Empire to get a real big stamp of approval. No, I'm sorry, not United Empire. Aussie Open, get the stamp of approval on it, because I think we're going with the rematch of Aussie Open versus FTR in the Tokyo Dome. You want that big match. I know you were there for it, Rob. You texted me as the match was over about how it was probably the best match you've seen live. And I've seen the match as well. It was absolutely fantastic. You're going to run that back. Why not do it in the Tokyo Dome?
Absolutely. I would love to see Aussie Open crowned, because they had their chance at Royal Quest 1 with Guerrillas of Destiny, and I felt they were on the precipice of big things. And then I believe it was it Mark that got injured, or was it Kyle?
Mark blew out his knee.
That was right, yeah. And
PWG
you felt
show,
like, yeah, it was literally like a week later or something daft, and they were going to be in Tag League that year, and you felt like, oh my god, these are real contenders. And then of course they had that match with FTR, which is insane. It's like I still can't believe how good that match was. I mean, I can't think of any other team I would rather see against FTR in the Tokyo Dome than Aussie Open. But yeah, overall it was decent. I gave it 3.25 stars. It was decent.
Same.
It was there. Nothing really to write home about, apart from the fact that Gideon Gray continues to be hilarious. Naito continues to be a delightful bully. We move on then to our 7th match, 6-man tag. The Great Muta, Kazuchika Okada and Toru Yano defeated the United Empire, the Great Okan, Jeff Cobb, and Aaron Hanare with the Rainmaker in 9 minutes and 48 seconds. I do find it hilarious that this was Great Muta's final match in New Japan, and he didn't even get the pinfall. Like, I don't feel like
he would have. I figured he would have. He hits the Shining Wizard. They do the Rainmaker, and then he doesn't even celebrate with his team. He just like, bye, see ya, and then like he's out the door. I'm like,
pieces out,
okay. Yeah. I thought this match, it was solid. It did what it needed to do. Really, Jeff Cobb and Okada have really, really good chemistry.
Yeah,
so they tease a lot of that stuff there. Hanare's he's getting better every time that I see him. The Great Okan, I know I won't say another bad word about him because you two feel the way about Great Okan the way I feel about Meltier. So I can read the room. I know how to schmooze. Overall, really solid. I think this really was just more of a gimmicky match for the Great Muta, rightfully so, to be able to get in the New Japan ring one more time and say goodbye. And he's teaming with, the ace of the company, the literally the money maker. And then Yano was he was there as well. He did what he needed to do. Not a problem. So
Yano was also present.
Yeah, 3.25 stars I had this one, Rob. So this wasn't very well, crazy. This wasn't like a Dragon Gate 6-gate match. Match by any means.
It was not. It was not. I mean, I'm just here for the missed spots. That's all I'm here for now. And to be fair, when you look at Muto's knees, they must be made of just pure gremlins, because that man, he struggled walking to the ring, bless him, never mind running to do any sort of offense.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's able to stand and deliver the Shining Wizard, which he did at the end, I thought was unbelievable. Just the fact that he could do that. But overall, this was also fine, Karen.
Again, like I said earlier, this is just to get Okada on the card and some of the other popular members of United Empire. I mean, I guess the historic crossover part of it is that they got Muta to show up.
Yep.
But I feel like the thing about Muta and his retirement tour, Muta/Muto, is that he's neither not getting the wins or he's eating the losses, like he did to Kaito Kiyomiya in Noah. So it's one of those things where it's just like, I understand why they did it, but I also feel like it's oh, by the way, Wrestle Kingdom's coming up. I know Okada's not on the next tour, so we have Okada on the show. Let's see Rainmaker. Wahoo! Rainmaker!
Yeah, that did feel like what happened, to be perfectly honest. Muta's going to do the mist, and then he's going to do a Shining Wizard, and then he's going to peace out the ramp.
What else you need? Yeah.
I mean, it was, I mean, you summed it up perfectly. Toru Yano was there. Bless him, because I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Toru Yano. Match 8 then, semi-main IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship match. Will Ospreay, the champion, in his third defense, defeating Shota Umino with the Stormbreaker in 23 minutes and 30 seconds. Karen, your opinion on this one?
So Shota Umino is one of my favorite young lions. I
Shota.
have followed his journey to the UK. I've loved the stuff he's been doing on New Japan Strong. I loved that this was the third match in their series from the time he, challenged for the British Heavyweight Championship in Rev Pro, like shortly after he got there on his excursion, to their rematch at Royal Quest, which, ended abruptly when Red Shoes, his own father, called the match. And that played into this match because Ospreay was like, sorry, I know your dad's reffing again, but your dad's not going to be able to protect you this time. And Red Shoes was the third opponent in this because he wanted to call that match. And just like my heart bled for Shota when he was climbing his dad's pant leg and begging him not to stop the match.
I mean,
so
great emotion.
yeah,
Great emotion. Yeah.
I wanted Shota to win just because I kind of wanted Shota to be able to fulfill his dream of challenging Naito at the Dome, because Naito has no plans for the Tokyo Dome yet.
I do not know where that's going, to be fair.
Yeah. But I think it was a fool's errand, because I knew that they were going to keep the belt on Ospreay to the Dome anyway. But I want nothing but the best things for Shota. Hey. Sorry, my dog agrees with me. She's getting very mouthy about Shota
Fan of Shota Umino.
Honestly,
yeah,
vocal support.
We're very big Uno fans here in the Peterson household.
I mean, I think it helps as well that Ospreay is such a believable dick that, like, you can't help, even if you're not a Shota Umino fan, you can't help but root for him, because Ospreay is so good at playing the dislikable heel, despite being incredible in the ring.
He has a very punchable face.
He does have an extremely punchable face. Yes, he does. Of course, he did come in with all the Hayabusa gimmick and the Hayabusa gear, which, of course, he then came out and said, I did clear it with Hayabusa's family. It's been auctioned off to raise money for the charities. And I thought that was a really, really, really nice touch. Again, he does have a very punchable face, and that made Shota Umino even more believable as that baby face. Their match at Royal Quest, it was a really weird sort of reaction, because from what I remember, Ospreay got him up for the Liger Bomb, and Ospreay gets such ridiculous height on that bomb, and it looked like Shota took it all on his neck and then just didn't get up. And so they looked really confused, and then Ospreay started digging in the elbows, and Red Shoes called it. And we couldn't tell, because Ospreay looked terrified at the end of that match. Yeah. He looked like Shota was in serious trouble. And obviously he wasn't. And if that was sort of a work, it was a fantastic work, because he worked the entire of the crowd. But building it into this match added such a great level of drama to a match that I think we all knew deep down that Ospreay was going to win, because, you know, he is one of the, if not the best in-ring performer at the moment in New Japan, controversially perhaps, but you want him going into the Dome with a title in a marquee match, and good God, we are getting that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Matt, what did you think about this match?
It's a great match. This show had, as much as it was on, a lot of these matches were really cooking. They were really cooking. If you remember, when we were texting back and forth, and I was like, I want the show to get over at a halfway decent time. I like to catch a nap. I have to go to church, and then I got to work a 9-10 hour shift at my second job. Obviously, that didn't happen, but this match, they gave it time, which I'm glad that they did, because this was really good. This is, I don't think anybody's going to disagree, probably Shoto's best match. I thought he looked really good here. Ospreay did a really good job making him look believable, and that he was going to take the belt. There's some really good striking early on, back and forth, that really set the pace. Ospreay's going to do what he's going to do with his high-flying stuff, but eventually Shota Umino started countering Ospreay's high-flying stuff, which I thought was really good, a really good story, saying, you're going to the well once too often, and I know your stuff because we've wrestled before, and I really need to go into, to my, my extra battery, my backup, to try to get this win, and then you're pulling out the extra emotion with the referee. So you did, like Karen said before, you have 3 people in this match. You got to utilize everybody you can to make that match even better than it's going to be. And I just thought it was really great. And then it got to a point where it did look like Shota was going to win the belt, and they did a good job convincing to pretty much everybody. Seeming that, Karen, you were there in the arena, but for us sitting at home, it felt like the momentum was swinging. We were going to see a new champ, and I was thinking, I know where they're going with Ospreay in the Tokyo Dome. They really don't need a belt here, so maybe that's where they're going, and they're going to make Shota's match even bigger. I know the rumor that's going to be him and Jericho at the Tokyo Dome. Again, we'll see if that happens. But then Ospreay just kicks into that last gear and just blitzes him with the hidden blades, and then hits the Stormbreaker for the finish. Second favorite match of the show. I had it 4.25 stars. Just a brilliant storytelling and a great way to use the referee involved in your match to build out, making a great match even better.
You talked earlier, Matt, and I sort of piggybacked on the back of it, as I so often do on this podcast, about people who lose the matches but win overall. And I think Shota Umino was one of those people. Absolutely. He's come out of this match despite having lost in emphatic fashion to Ospreay in the end. He's managed to come out of it looking like a fantastic babyface, a brilliant, brilliant babyface. And Karen, you said, like, when he was a young lion. He was the one that everyone thought he's going to come back and he is going to be a top star.
My only concern about Shota moving forward is that with his father being the lead referee, he's going to constantly be in this awkward position where people are going to question his, legitimacy or his, the officiating in his matches because his father's the lead referee. That's my only concern for Shota, is that I think at some point they're going to need to start swapping in a different referee for his matches, just so it doesn't give that whole vibe that his, much like Ghetto's side problems with Jado has become an overarching part of Bullet Club's arc. I don't want Shota's dad to be part of Shota's history moving forward.
No, they've done it. Yeah, 100%. They've done it in this feud. I think it worked really well with the Ospreay thing. And you know what? When Umino does eventually beat Ospreay, because that's something that New Japan do very well, they build the feud and stretch it out and make you want it. Sometimes to the detriment in the case of Okada and Naito. But, with, I think, Umino, you could have that, Red Shoes play into that quite well. And I think that'd be perfect. Let's move on then to the main event, which I'm sure is the reason why a lot of people want to hear us talk about this show. The main event, match 9, the vacant IWGP Women's Championship match, with KAIRI defeating Mayu Iwatani with the insane elbow in 25 minutes and 58 seconds. I know that I've already talked about the video packages, but this video package highlighting the feud, the friendship, and just that final little twist of Mayu saying, I never left. You left, you went away. Io left, Io went away. I have stayed through the thick, the thin, the bad, the good. I have been the icon of Stardom, and I have stayed. And just that moment, and you're like, she's got to win. She's got to win. And then she didn't, but we'll talk about that. Karen, this main event, I mean, obviously you have a completely different perspective because you were watching it live. And what a match.
I have waited so long to see KAIRI wrestle again. And I was fortunate enough to see her wrestle twice in less than 24 hours. This match, the story was there. And I knew from the moment she got announced as the Mystery X in the international bracket, she was going to the finals. Whether it was going to be against Utami or Mayu, it was going to be KAIRI. But I was convinced because of, with Mayu, she's a Grand Slam champion. She's held just about every belt she can hold. She has nothing to do right now. She intentionally vacated the SWA championship to focus on the IWGP Women's Championship match. She wrestled in Madison Square Garden. She wrestled in the first match at Rumble on 44th, the first Stardom wrestling match in the United States since Madison Square Garden. She has a movie about her autobiography coming out next year. Like, what else is left for her to do than to walk in and be this champion? And yeah, her being like, you abandoned us. You abandoned us. And look who came crawling back. But I've been here. And I was like, Mayu's a lock. It can't be anyone but Mayu. But it was, what I loved about this is that it was a pure babyface versus babyface match. Because, even if either of them try to zombie out or heal out, they're just too beloved and so strongly associated with the light end of the spectrum in the wrestling nomenclature. Is that it was just, I've only ever seen matches on YouTube in Stardom World of their time together prior to KAIRI's departure. So I'd never seen them wrestle each other live. So it was historic on many different levels, but also a great way to bring in many new fans.
Absolutely.
But I was still floored, especially the night before, because KAIRI didn't get to do the diving elbow drop in Kamitani's match.
No.
And that 30-minute match was so long. I was worried that this match was going to go too long as a result of that. But I feel like it went just long enough. But it still blows my mind that KAIRI ended up being the one to win at the end.
especially when me and Rob, again, we were texting, and we're so much alike, even though we're literally completely different opposite ends of the world. We are so much alike. We literally text each other at the same time when Mayu took off her jacket and she had the red gear on that she had when she had at one of the best title runs ever in any wrestling company. Literally, I text Rob red gear Mayu, and right before it sent, I got a text from Rob saying championship gear Mayu. I guess we're both right. And I was like, there's no way she's losing now. There's no way she's losing. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, God damn, that was a good match. Like the destination caught everybody off guard, but the journey that those two took all of us on, not only the 25 minutes of the match, just the entrances as well. Like KAIRI comes out this huge entrance with the smoke and everything, and she's just so, you can just tell that when she picked that up over at WWE, she brought it here, and every one of her entrances just seemed bigger than life. And then, not to be outdone, Mayu comes in, the fancy jacket, and then she takes it off, and it's like, oh, that is literally as much as great things as Mayu's done throughout her entire career, 16, 17, 18, that run 2019 to 2020 with her red belt reign, that's my favorite Mayu. And that's like the Mayu that we got here. Even so much so, I just watched it the other day, the match with her and B. Priestley, where she wins the red belt, where they botched the I don't like to say the word botch, the mistake on the Hurricanrana, and Mayu sells it, and she gets up and she gets zombie faced Mayu, and you're like, oh geez, and she just kicks that match into another gear. That happens here when she eats 2 or 3 of those super stiff cutlasses in a row and is walking forward, and she's got that look on her face that like, oh man, she's gonna kick this into another gear. And boy, they sure did, because these two didn't miss. Even like right off the get-go, like they had some really good chain wrestling to start, to build. And then Mayu was like, nope, I'm going right into 3rd, 4th gear. And she hits a dive early on the KAIRI and pretty much the entire Stardom roster. Yeah, just the storytelling, the pacing, everything was just so good. Even like with Mayu eating those cutlasses back to back to back. And then KAIRI thinking that she has Mayu right where she wants her. She goes for the spear, and she gets super kicked right in the jaw from the spear. It's like just bringing it back in kind. And then she always follows it up with a beautiful crucifix bomb. That's kind of like, her toolbox of movesets. That was really good. And then you get to where she goes to hit the 2-stage dragon. And you almost, to me, and I watched the match back twice, I've seen it 3 times. She goes for the 2-stage dragon and she stumbles back. So she hits it to the ropes, where you can say maybe she was almost punch drunk from getting hit with the cutlasses so hard, so often, that she didn't realize where she was. That could have played in comparison. Talked about earlier on the podcast about my feed freezing. So, Rob, you know where I'm going to go with this, because I had to text you. KAIRI starts climbing to the top rope to go for the insane elbow.
No.
And it freezes. And again, it literally, I would just say error. I would hit OK. It would take me back to the main menu, Stardom World. I'd click OK again, 10, 15 seconds at the most it would take me to get back. It felt like Santa Claus and all the holidays passed me by. So I literally click it on, and KAIRI is standing above Mayu with a shocked look on her face, and the crowd is going crazy. Waka's crying. So I can put 1 and 1 together. She must have kicked out the insane elbow. So I text Robin and go, buddy, sorry to bother you. My feed froze. What happened? He goes, she hit 2 insane elbows, 1 to the back, 1 to the front. Mayu kicked out. This place is going nuts. And then it stayed up until I didn't have any problems for the rest of the match. But literally, probably the worst part in that show was it where, as she was going up for the first insane elbow, and I turned it on, she just had that look like, what happened? I can't put Mayu away. But eventually she does put her away. The two of them, especially that closing stretch, the last 4 or 5 minutes, felt like, I always harken back to it, my favorite era of wrestling, the All Japan King's Road, where they build those finishes, where everybody has all these big moves that build to the finish. That's what was happening between missing the moonsault and the constant cutlasses and the insane elbows, the one she was hitting, the one she was missing, and then dragon suplex after dragon suplex to the 2-stage dragon. Eventually, she just eats 1 too many spinning back fists, and then it gets drilled with the final insane elbow for the pinfall. I mean, this is one of the best matches I've seen all year in any promotion.
I mean, you do run a risk when you've got babyface versus babyface that someone is going to have to turn heel for the dynamics of the match to work. And I feel like they didn't have to do that here because of the sheer emotion that both of them brought. And I am going to put all 3 members of English commentary over here because they did so well. I mean, Kevin and Chris sounded like they've been commentating on Stardom for years. They knew the product inside out, and they knew about the feud between KAIRI and Mayu. They knew about, the sort of connection between them, should I say, rather than the feud. And then Waka just physically crying. I mean, she has nothing to do with Mayu or KAIRI. She's not in their faction. She's probably friends with them outside the ring. But, you know, from a Stardom standpoint, if you're watching, but the emotion of the match captured her to the point where she was physically crying. And that's a massive indicator of how much they managed to put over this match. And I thought, Mayu getting rid of the SWA belt in order to concentrate on the IWGP belt to then lose in the IWGP final is such a Mayu thing to do. It's such a Mayu thing to do. And I should have seen that coming, to be fair. But you can now tell the story of, I mean, Karen already mentioned, she's a Grand Slam champion. She's won pretty much everything. I think she's won every belt except the future belt, which she is ineligible for, so she can't.
Correct.
Come on.
She's not a real Grand Slam champion.
Never say never.
But I feel like this can be the story because, as Karen said, she's not doing anything at the moment. This can be her story, her quest to get the IWGP belt. Should she have been the first champion?
Probably.
I do think she should have been. Matt, do you think she should have been?
Yes, but I will say, I mean, there were some people right after the match on Twitter. They were like, they weren't upset that KAIRI won. They're more upset that Mayu lost.
Yeah.
And my thing is, again, I say it's all time on the podcast. I said it before. It's not who goes over; it's who gets over. And if I were to show this entire show to my dad, who strictly watches WWE, we grew up watching, you know, 80s WWF together. That's all he watches. If I had him watch this show from start to finish, I guarantee he would tell me the most impressed wrestler, the wrestler that impressed him the most on this roster was Mayu.
Or Tom Lawler.
I don't know how he would feel about those short shorts. However, no disrespect to, I thought everybody on this show worked hard. Everybody from match one to the pre-match to the end, they worked their asses off. I don't think anybody in this show outworked Mayu. I thought Mayu came across as the best wrestler on this show. So that was my whole thing when I was talking to people. They were DMing me very upset. Again, not that KAIRI won, but Mayu lost. And my thing was, I'm a huge fan of KAIRI, huge fan of Mayu. Sure, I can understand everybody thought that that's where we were going, especially the fact that with all the promos and the red gear, that's where that we're going. And then we kind of got, you know, a left hook there. But at the same time, yeah, KAIRI doesn't have anything to do. She has a movie coming out. You think maybe KAIRI is going to be taking time away from, not away from wrestling, but maybe only do a show here and there so she could be on the set of her movie. And then once it gets released, maybe they do that match at a Dominion or a big Stardom show where maybe they go back to Budokan Hall for the first time in, 2 years, maybe sometime at the end of the summer in 2023. And that's the main event. So, that's a possibility. And then Mayu gets crowned there.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think anyone is under any illusion that Mayu will at some point hold this belt. I hope the timing is right. It worries me. I talked about Wrestle Kingdom 12 and the entire night was built, it seemed, for Naito to dethrone Okada. It seemed to be the right moment. And I really hope that we don't get to a point and look back and go, Mayu probably should have won it there because it just doesn't feel the same. I hope that they've got something in mind for this. Obviously, KAIRI wrestles this entire match with a basically broken ankle. It is a mess. If you haven't seen it on her Twitter, go and check it out because it really is swollen. That happens. Mayu leaves. You talked about, just before I go into what happens afterwards, Matt, you talked about how sort of Mayu, the reaction to Mayu losing. Everyone I saw on Twitter was talking about Mayu and was talking about how good she looked, how emotional she was, and how even though they don't watch Stardom, they want her to win. So
so you might be thinking, like, let's not give, it's an old 70s 80s trick from promoters, let's not give it to them now, let's build it up to maybe again the money's in the chase, and maybe that's where they're going. Again, KAIRI by no means a bad pick for the first person to win this belt, obviously not, but it's just, I think Mayu just has everybody's heart. Again, it's not that people were upset that Kairi won. They're just more upset that Mayu lost. Which just shows you what a great baby face. Again, I say it all the time. I think she's the 4th greatest baby face in the history of professional wrestling. I think she's that good. And maybe the money's in the chase for a big match coming up sometime as her movie comes out. Well, I don't know if it's the summer or whenever, but maybe that's what they do, again, a Stardom standalone only show, maybe in some big arena. And they want to get 3,000-4,000 fans in. Let's run that back. We did in front of 7,100 people, so.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, after this, we get our first challenger for the IWGP Women's Championship. That's going to be Tam, which I'm sure Matt was very, very happy about. Will be Tam time in the Tokyo Dome.
Love it. That's a shirt, folks. Send the checks to Rob Goodwin. Tam time in the Dome.
What I will say about the KAIRI over Mayu argument, just think how good KAIRI's entrance is going to be in the Tokyo Dome. Like that.
Don't make me sad that I'm not going to be there for it.
That is going to be unreal. Like, you think about the charisma, the aura, the superstar sort of aura that she's got going on, and then think about it on the massive stage in front of 40,000 people. My God, absolutely incredible. Sorry, Karen. So that's now locked in for Wrestle Kingdom as well. Tam is going to be the first challenger. I want to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. What we didn't talk about, and I realize I skipped over, how could I skip over this, is that Ospreay is going to be facing Kenny Omega in the Tokyo Dome.
Oh, no big deal.
It's the Stardom podcast.
Yeah, who cares about Ospreay and Okada? Ospreay and Omega. Honestly, the lights went down and I was like, nah, they won't do it. And then he came on and I was like, yeah, okay.
You didn't really. Kevin Kelly was ham-fisting you every line. The best belt machine. Yeah. And I was like, how is he not doing it? Like, how did you not see it coming? This was so telegraphed.
Even so, like, Ospreay versus Omega with just give them 30 minutes and they will blow the roof off the Tokyo Dome. I genuinely feel sorry for the match that has to follow that match. It's probably, in my head, I imagine it's going to be Okada Jay White as the main event, Ospreay, Omega as the semi-main. I would put Tam and KAIRI as third from the top.
Ooh, that's a good 1-2-3 punch, buddy. Yeah, that's a good call.
I mean, you're trying to establish this championship as a big championship and not just sort of a token championship. Why not put it on third? I mean, aside from maybe the junior 4-way, I think it legitimately deserves to be there. What do you think, Aaron?
My only concern is that if it's supposed to be treated as a top title, but the US title still is ranked higher than it, it might be. It comes down to, is the title more important or is the star power in the match more important?
Yeah, no, I do get that.
And I would love to see the women's championship as the semi-main. I just don't think they have the courage to do it, especially now that they're finally getting Omega back.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't want to be the match that follows Omega's return to New Japan, because
but that becomes your main event, which is Okada Jay.
It's a different match because Jay White works that old school style where it could be like a 40-minute match where it's a lot of grinding.
God, I hope it's not 40 minutes.
You're always going to get that with Okada. Okada always has those 35, 40-minute classes.
But then, like, isn't the time limit for the US belt 60 minutes? Are we going to get a 60-minute Ospreay Omega draw?
I think maybe 20. No. You might get 20, 21 minutes. I think surely not 40. That's what I think.
What was the limit for the his defense against Shota? Was it 30?
30?
Was it 30 or okay.
That was 30.
I was wondering what it was
30.
I think anyway.
So before I forget, Karen, I want to ask you a question about this main event. How do you feel about KAIRI winning this match with Mai Sakurai's finisher? How does I just did that to Pop Rob.
Wow!
I just did that to. If we weren't on video, I wouldn't have asked that. I wouldn't have asked that. I just wanted to see his. He's gonna throw that bottle from England to the States.
Wow!
Heel Matt Turner.
That was. That hurt, man.
No, that was a joke just for Rob. You're sorry I used you as the catalyst, friend. Welcome to the fun we have on this podcast.
Boo that man. Everybody boo that man right there.
What they did announce was that there will be a second Wrestle Kingdom show in the Yokohama Arena on the 20-something. I haven't got the date in front of me. The 20-something of January, anyway.
January 2nd. I think they said they're doing it January 2nd.
No.
January 2nd.
Is it? The Yokohama show is January 2nd.
There's 4 big shows in Japan. New Year's Day, there's that Noah show with the return of Kenta and Marufuji with Nakamura and Muto. The second is Wrestle Kingdom. The third is that Stardom show, and then the fourth is Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah,
am I right? I get hit in a lot.
I'm gonna Google that now because I'd got it in my head that it was the 20-something.
I thought it was the second.
If it's the second, completely negates my point.
It's
so
not, I'm wrong. I've been wrong a time, especially in my house. I'm wrong all the time. It's called consistency.
Let's have a look.
I feel like it would be after New Year's Dash.
January 21st.
Oh, I decided 2.
Yeah, January.
Apologies.
That part of
this man. Karen was right.
Boo that man! Boo that man! Boo him!
With square
not Rob.
Tell me with squares.
I can't tell my left from my right. I'm looking at a mirror image.
I do it all the time when I'm on this.
I've got a dog who needs attention right now.
Yeah, we better wrap this up, buddy.
I've got one last question then. Yokohama Arena, 21st of January. Assuming that KAIRI beats Tam, which I think we're all assuming she is. Assuming that we get a defense maybe in Yokohama at Wrestle Kingdom, they've said about doing it on big New Japan shows. In an ideal world, let's start with Karen. Who would you like to see KAIRI defending against in the Yokohama Arena? Syuri? Oh my God.
My answer is easier than yours.
Jesus. Go on.
Utami beats KAIRI at Dream Queendom. After KAIRI beats Tam, Utami comes out at Wrestle Kingdom saying, I beat you last week, a week or so ago. I want the next shot. And then that's how you get Utami and KAIRI. You get it twice.
I don't think they would do Utami KAIRI that close together. And I also think Julia is beating Syuri at Queendom to bookend their rivalry. So
we think that. No, we think that. There we go. I got it right this time. Yeah.
we
tie 5.
Yeah.
Felt like Kalisto then. So yeah, we think Julia is taking the belt as well. So I'll be honest, I would love a Syuri versus KAIRI match, and I think you do need to sort of go through KAIRI's dream matches of people she hasn't had singles matches with yet. Obviously, Utami is going to be wrestling KAIRI, confirmed now at Dream Queendom, having drank a beer and basically said, "I'm wrestling you," and walking off in perhaps the greatest backstage segment ever.
That's how you start a fight.
Drinking someone else's victory beers. I mean,
absolutely. But yeah, we will draw a line under that. Thank you so much, Karen Peterson, for joining us on this review.
Yeah,
honestly, we've loved having you here. We'd love to do it again.
Of course, anytime you guys need me, give me a call.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Just quickly before we sign off, I do just want to say that Living the Dream, the first Stardom book, is now solely on Amazon. I've managed to port it over from Lulu. So if you're going to get it, please.
Literally, it's with me everywhere I go, buddy. I'm dead serious. Karen, I tried as heck to get the PWI Women's 150. I shamelessly plug Rob's book all the time on the podcast without him knowing. I was desperately looking to get that magazine because I know you did the article with Syuri. I scorched heaven and earth. I could not find it in time for this. So I apologize.
That's fine.
I apologize. However,
I only did a 30-minute interview with her, but okay. Whatever.
I went so many places. I'm going to have to order it online because nobody,
PWI-online.com.
I'm going to have to get it. Anywho, Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th anniversary in review. I beaten this thing to death. I actually had to order a second copy by my good friend, Rob Goodwin. Did I do it? Right.
No, other way. Other way. Thank you. It's now on Amazon as opposed to the paperback was just on Lulu, but you can get the paperbacks on Amazon. Please go check it out. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, guys. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are literally everywhere. You can check out the website, www.thestardomcast.com. Go and check that out as well. We are on Patreon, patreon.com/The Stardom Cast. Karen, would you like to plug your social media handles and anything else you do?
If you would like to follow me on my pro wrestling and journey in life in general, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube at Hey Karen Sensei. If you're down with the Stardom event reports, I got you handled over at postwrestling.com. Just look up Karen Peterson, you'll find it there. And I do a weekly column every week that covering the women's wrestling scene in Japan and abroad. called Dream Slam Weekly. All I ask is don't treat me like Google Translate and come along for the ride.
I will be honest, it's been a godsend, your articles at times.
Thank
I do
you.
shout you out on a regular basis on the podcast.
I appreciate that.
So thank you very much. Matt, it's been a pleasure, as always. We'll be back. We'll be back next week to talk about the Korakuen show, Goddess of Stardom Tag League. We'll also talk a little bit about Stardom in Showcase Volume 3, if it is up on World at the time. Who knows? We will see. But Matt, sign us off, dear boy.
And anybody questions, comments, anything that you guys need from me, get a hold of me, Matt Turner OF, on Instagram and or the Twitter. If social media is not your thing, I completely understand. Shoot me an email at thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Again, we thank you so much for the fantastic support that you've shown this podcast throughout the year. And like I said, just remember, folks, this isn't just my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all in this together, and everybody's different. Everybody's special.